In this episode, I'm going to share with you a list of 20 sci-fi fantasy race archetypes. Here we go. Huzzah! Hello everyone, my name is Aiden and this is Author Quiz. Thank you so much for joining me as we talk about 20 sci-fi fantasy race archetypes. An archetype is an original pattern or model of which all things of the same type are representations or copies. It's impossible to tell what is an actual true archetype in stories because human beings have been inspiring each other since storytelling began. So to really know when the original idea for something came out, you'd have to... There's no way to know it because it would be word of mouth days back before anything was written. When I talk about archetypes in stories, a lot of times people think about character archetypes, and character archetypes are great, and it's great to know those and understand those. But archetypes are about a lot of different things. The primary example people think about archetypes is the hero, right? I wrote down a little bit of my definition. This is not the official definition, but I think that it works really well. The hero is the one who acts and reacts to their circumstances and reaps the rewards or detriments of their choices. The hero is the one who is set apart from the rest by their own volition or that of an exterior force to complete their journey. In this episode, I won't be going into too much detail on each of these archetypes. If you want me to go into more detail about these archetypes, I can. But right now, we're just going to keep to a simple list of 20, and I'm going to give a brief description of each. All right, here we go. Let's go. Number 1, the Fair Folk. The Fair Folk is a race archetype that has transcended beyond the problems of the world. They are enlightened and spend their days on the simple joys of living and keeping peace and harmony. Great examples of this are elves from Lord of the Rings, Elantrians from Brandon Sanderson's book Elantris, and fairies from folklore. Number 2, Mountain Dwellers. Mountain Dwellers is a race archetype of hardy people that have found strength, security, and wealth in the mountains. Great examples of these are dwarves from Aragon, dragons from any mythology, and myconids from D&D. Number 3, the Everyman People. The Everyman People is the archetype where it's the most ordinary people and typically the majority in the world. They are born, they live, and they die. Great examples of these are humans, kobolds, and Twi'leks from Star Wars. Number 4, the Immortals. The Immortals race archetype is an archetype of powerful beings with seemingly no beginning and no end. Their kind and culture is heavily influenced by their vast past and vast future. They win simply because they have time on their side. Elantrians also fit in this group, as do Asgardians, Eternals, and Celestials from the Marvel Universe. Number 5, the Hive. The Hive is a race archetype of people that are almost one entity with many bodies. They live and die as one. Great examples of these are Geonosians from Star Wars, Mind Flayers from D&D, and the Formics from Ender's Game. Number 6, Gentle Giants. Gentle Giants is the race archetype made up of large creatures that have found peace because of the security they have in their size. They are big people that appreciate the little things. Great examples of these are Furbolgs from D&D, Hagrid from Harry Potter, and Ents from Lord of the Rings. Number 7, the Unseen. There's great power and great cost in being unseen. This race archetype is made up of people that have freedom unlike any other. They have an excellent tool to achieve their aims. Great examples of this are Hobbits of the Shire, the Silents from Doctor Who, and doppelgangers, shapeshifters, changelings, and mimics from D&D. Number 8, the Last of Their Kind. The Last of Their Kind is a race with a hard past, but has great potential in their future. They spend their days looking for their kin and remembering the good old days. Number 9, the First of Their Kind. Similar to the Last of Their Kind, the First of Their Kind has a hard future ahead of them. They're hopeful and optimistic. Number 10, Little Geniuses. Little Geniuses is a race archetype that is short in stature that make the world go round. You can find them crawling around inside an engine looking to fix it, or in the right place at the right time to help your heroes with secret knowledge of a forgotten tunnel under the fortress. Great examples of this are the Ewoks from Star Wars. Before I get on to 11 and onward, I'd like to encourage you to check out my brother's channel, Writing Quest. Let him know I sent you and give him a like and a subscribe. Number 11, Cannon Fodder. Cannon Fodder is a race archetype that is numerous in number with the sole purpose in a story to be the mindless army that just keeps getting mowed down by the heroes. Their only two characteristics are that they fight and overwhelm. Think of the Chitauri and the Outriders from the MCU. Number 12, the Wild Ones. The Wild Ones are a race of people that live in the wild in an eat or be eaten environment. Number 13, the Afflicted. The Afflicted is a race archetype made up of people with a disease or a curse that has been normalized to their way of living. Think of tieflings from Dungeons & Dragons. Number 14, the Mighty Steeds. The Mighty Steeds are any race that are sentient creatures that are typically ridden in a story. They are loyal and devoted to their role. Great examples of this are dragons from Aragon, wolves from my brother's story of Wolves and Wizards, and sky bison from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Number 15, Otherworlders. Otherworlders is a race archetype that stands apart from the rest of the world in that their society and way of life is so alien that other people find it hard to relate to. Great examples of this are Atlanteans, aliens, and the Fae. Number 16, Colossals. The Colossals are a race archetype similar to the Gentle Giants, but to the umpteenth degree, and let's face it, a lot less gentle. Colossals are often primordial and removed from the normal world simply because of their size. What does a bad crop yield or a war mean to something that eats mountains and crushes armies with one step? Great examples of these are stone giants, Godzilla, King Kong, and the Tarrasque, some types of dragons even. Number 17, the Ascended. The Ascended is a race archetype that has risen beyond the common dimensions where time and space and sustenance is irrelevant. The only thing left to them is knowledge, power, and will. Great examples of this are Alien X from Ben 10 Alien Force, digital beings in just about any digital show, sci-fi show, and omnipresent beings that simply can be everywhere at once. Number 18, the Parasite. The Parasite race archetype is commonly the antagonist and is treated more like a force of nature than a sentient being. Oftentimes, to give depth, the author will give parasites a hive mind to give them character. This, however, is not necessary. Think of the Flood from Halo. Number 19, the Conquerors. The Conquerors are a destructive race that survive by conquering place after place and consuming all resources available and making none for themselves. Great examples of this are the Yuuzhan Vong from the Star Wars Expanded Universe. Number 20, the Indentured. The Indentured are a race that is subservient to another, but are secretly strong and hardy, and they don't quite know it. Think of the House Elves or the Ood from Doctor Who. And secret number 21, the Natured. The Natured is a race archetype that is so one with nature that they are nature. The Natured is the race archetype that is made up of, lives, and defends the biome in which they hail from. Think of Ents or Myconids.
Something important to realize about these archetypes is that any one of these races in storytelling usually are a combination of two or more of these archetypes. The reason that these archetypes exist in storytelling is because fantasy races are a metaphor for different aspects of human society, in human beings, in human nature, in real life. The place of a story is to represent ideas and to look inward as we escape from our reality, to really get introspective and actually think about different aspects of the human condition. If your story has fantasy races, if your story has different creatures, has different subsects of people, then a great way to utilize these is to take different and awkward and weird combinations of these archetypes and putting them together. For instance, let me give you just a couple of examples. The Indentured Parasite. Think about that. Oftentimes we think about a parasite that is in control, it's like a disease, it's rampant, it's sweeping across the nation and it's destroying everything. But think about an indentured parasite, a parasite that is literally subjugated to the will of another race or a people or a person. That sounds like a pretty interesting race to me. I don't think I've ever heard that before. Another example would be the last of their kind meets the Afflicted. Combining those two together would be a very interesting race, because if it's an afflicted race, that has been forever, and then they're the last of their kind. That's like the time is really running out. So it really puts on the pressure and it makes it very, very interesting. Another great one would be the ascended gentle giants. Like imagine a gentle giant that isn't picked on, a gentle giant that doesn't have to worry about being shy or anything like that, or have to worry about their size. They are literally an ascended being. They're also a gentle giant. And this was another one that I was kind of looking at. I was looking at this list of archetypes that I put together, and the immortal mighty steed. I think that would be really cool, because imagine a mighty steed. Imagine Saphira from Aragon, but instead of she dies from grief when Aragon dies, she just gets another rider, and another rider, and another rider. Maybe she takes a break from riders for a while, but then she comes back and she gets another rider, and she kind of goes, she has this whole line of riders that she is the mighty steed. So the immortal mighty steed. I don't know. I think it's pretty interesting. Anyway, let me know about any archetypes that I could have missed. Do let me know your favorite combinations, like putting some of these together. Imagine or bring up your own archetypes and then combine them with some of the ones that I have represented down below and share them in the comments. This is a really interesting thing to talk about. I don't think that we talk about this enough. This is an actual tool that you can use in idea creation. So you can start with this and then just imagine how it can build in your story. Anyway, I've been going on long enough. Thank you so much for joining me. This is AuthorQuest, and my name is Aiden. Talk to you later. Bye.